Hey, everybody, this is James Pelton. I hope you are doing well today, Thursday morning here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Our guest has not shown up. I've not heard back from them today. This sometimes happens. Again, this was just a program that someone had sent to me, and I thought it looked really interesting. So I was kind of just wanting to learn about it. So maybe we'll talk about it a little bit. Then we'll do just a little bit of an AMA for you guys who are here, and we can answer a few questions. So let me just kind of present to you while we're waiting. Maybe they'll show up here in the next couple minutes. The joys of live video, right? Is sometimes people don't show up. But Alif, good to see you. Chance, good to see you. Micah, I know I was excited about this one too. So maybe we'll get them back on at another time. Maybe just today didn't work. Maybe they forgot. Maybe they'll be here in like 5 minutes. That sometimes happens as well. But let me show you kind of what they have. Oh, here we go. We got Jaymie here. Perfect.
Going, man.
Jaymie, welcome. How are you doing, brother?
Good, really good. Been a great morning. How about you?
Good. I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us here today. So we're really excited. Again, my audience is they're mostly passive income, side hustle type people. But thought we'd bring you on today. Someone had sent over this living the off-grid dream. And I thought it looked really interesting, and it's something I know nothing about. So kind of want to just bring you on just to kind of walk through, maybe hear a little bit about your experience, your journey, and then talk about how you help others get involved in this as well. So maybe we could start out with a quick intro of you and how did you get into this as your life? How'd you get from normal life to the off-grid dream life?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that I've always wanted to do it. I think a lot of people with your channel would relate to this, that I just kind of saw a trap in society where you graduate high school and then you go on and go into debt from further education, and then you get a mortgage, and then you work a job that you don't like, and that you never spend time in the house that you just bought or with your family and all the things. And I just saw that trap coming. And yeah, I just saw a lot of broken systems in society, from food systems to healthcare to like just simple lack of community, disconnection with nature, just the way that we do things as humans in the industrial age. And I just figured there's a better way to do it. So I figured the best way to address that would be to build it from the ground up and go and do it. So I've wanted to do it, yeah, for probably since I was about 13 years old. And I've had probably 5 or so businesses since that age, over the past 15 years or so. And that was always like the goal, was to make enough money with those businesses in order to buy land and do what we're doing now. And then I ended up having cash flow issues in my previous business during COVID, and had to do an asset sale and then bankrupt the business, which left me in debt because I overextended myself for that business with my personal credit. So I was just kind of sitting there after that, like, okay, now what? I'm sitting here in debt. I've got nothing. I don't know how I'm going to feed myself in a couple of weeks. And my brother had recently moved on from his business, so we were just like, let's just go straight for it and see if it works.
Okay, very cool. I think you're totally right. I think that's a lot of people get stuck in that. Even when I graduated high school, everybody told me, I had no idea really what I wanted to do, but everyone said, "Well, you go to college and then you find a career." And I was going through school, and I was like, I don't like this at all. And I'm doing all this work, and I pay them. It was the opposite of my experience with jobs. So can you tell us? So how invested? How can you kind of talk about how your passive income and this off the grid, are those two combined into one course here, or is this course more about how to make money, or kind of what is this course that you have kind of have in it?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's like it's pretty thorough. Like it's pretty holistic. So it covers everything from several different methods for being able to actually acquire property. For example, that could be getting a mortgage partner to come help out with your down payment and cosign. That could be doing any kind of leasing or rental stuff. That also could be owner financing options. So we help people find creative ways to get into land, because we started with nothing or less than nothing. And we knew from our previous business experience that if we learn how to communicate and provide value and increase somebody's value, that we'd be able to get financial help with this. So that's what we teach, and that's kind of the first step. And then our goal here is to help people be self-sufficient. So that means that they have their own power, they have their own water, they have their own shelter, they have their own land, they're growing their own food. And that's what a lot of people think of when they think about being self-sufficient. But what they often forget about is the financial self-sufficiency. So there's lots of courses out there where you can go learn how to grow your own food and do permaculture and regenerative farming, for example. But there's not a lot of courses that actually teach the financial strategies to make that a reality, and get the land to even do that on in the first place. So yeah, like our strategy is really to get into property, get into real estate, get into land, and then figure out the fastest way to produce cash flow on that property, and then automate that. So you just have a little engine that's just pumping out cash, so you can use that to build the rest of the property and the rest of the vision that you have.
Okay, very good. And a question for you. So when you got into this, is this something that you can kind of gradually go into, or do you have to like go all in? Are there pieces that you can pick up? Like for me, I love passive income and I have a bunch of land, but I'm not don't necessarily care as much about being off the grid. Are there kind of like pieces for everyone in that?
For sure. Yeah. Like we have clients that are all over the place. You know, we have a client that is looking to buy like 1,000 acres and do like a 50 family home community, tiny home development. And then we have clients, that have like 5 acres that just want to chill out and just put some glamping tents on there and make 10, 20,000 a month and just chill out and retire early. So like definitely both. We have people that want to live full time on them, people that will live part time on them, or just have them as a vacation property kind of thing. So there's definitely something in there for anybody.
Okay, and is there what would be like the minimum capital that you would need to get started? So for people in the audience who are watching, but they're like, I don't have any money to get started with, this isn't something for me. What's kind of like the minimum that you would recommend someone get going with?
Well, I mean, we got going with nothing, so I'll explain a little bit about that, and how we did that. So essentially, what we went in and we took, okay, here's the property we're interested in, and it's worth a couple $100,000, and then here's a property that, and we bought barren land, so there's nothing on it. And then we referenced that to a property, we averaged out properties that had all the things built on it. So they had a well, they had a house built, they had fencing, they had a barn, all the things. And then the difference in that would probably be like 200,000 versus like 1.2 million in our area. So we take that to someone and say, hey, look, we would like to buy this property. Here's what we're going to put into it. This is how we're going to demonstrate how we're going to increase the value of it. And that's essentially how we got a mortgage partner. So they came out and helped us out with the down payment and co-signed for the mortgage because their credit was also crap. And that's how we got into it. And once you have the land, once you own it, then it's pretty easy to start generating cash off of. For example, you could just throw it up on HipCamp, and people would just come and just rent the property and camp on it, and then you could slowly reinvest that and buy some bell tents. And now you have bell tents for people, and then you can increase your rate a little bit. You get more bookings, and then you reinvest, and maybe you get a spa, you get a sauna going and some cold plunge stuff for hydrotherapy. Now you got a bit of wow factor. Now more people show up and you can increase your rates even more. And then you just slowly can build it up that way. So that's really where we started. And then, there's so many other routes. A lot of people you could start from nothing, but I think that we took investment. So we did a bunch of stuff. Another thing you could do is like crowdfund. You could crowdfund once you have land, easy to crowdfund for something like that. Another thing that you could do is joint ventures. So we teach a lot about, we cover JVs quite a bit because we've had so many people come to us and offer things like brand new like Airstream trailers to like park on our property and rent out, and we take 70% of the income, and then they take 30. So you don't even have to really put any money in to get accommodations and glamping related stuff to rent out if you're doing HipCamp or Airbnb and stuff like that. So yeah, you could also just, like, depending on the area, You could rent stuff out for storage. You could just let people come rent the property barren for a wedding, and they bring all their own stuff in. You could do there's a lot of different there's a lot of different things that you could do. You could have somebody, you could rent out a portion of it for someone with a tiny home to come park and live on it and have a long-term tenant and caretaker for the property. So there's tons of ways that you can create and generate revenue off of rural land that is very hard to do with like suburban property, because a lot of people are trying to, like, they get into suburban rentals as a real estate strategy. But I find that the off-grid or rural land actually gives you way more opportunities.
Okay, very cool. What would you say? What have you seen from your customers of kind of like the when they get started to when they start making some money? What's kind of that usual time frame there?
Yeah, it totally depends. I mean, we have clients that have come in and to our, like, honestly, when we first started the program, we were kind of sitting here like I have a background in construction, my brother does as well. That's complementary to one another. We both have run businesses and stuff. So I'm like, fuck, like, are people actually going to be able to do this? Because like we have a pretty decent background for it. And to our surprise, people have actually done it better and faster than we ever have, which I think is a testament. And we weren't expecting that, so that was a delight to see. But yeah, we've had people kind of get funded within, Jay Templeton within 30 days. He got funded for a down payment and bought 37 acres in Washington. And then, we got Tom and Taddy had $300,000 come in to buy a retreat center in Portugal. That was in 90 days. So those are some of our like kind of top performers, I would say. And that was about a year ago, when that was before some of the real estate market was kind of going a little crazy. So now people that are helping folks do this financially and invest and stuff it's a little longer now, I would say. So it used to be like, 3 months was like a good run rate to get going, to like get into land. And then I would say 3 to 6 months to actually have a little bit of stuff built out and be generating some good cash off of it. We were doing about 30 grand in 7 months. And now that we know what we know now and wouldn't make all those mistakes, we probably could have done that in about 2 months with proper planning and strategy. So yeah, I would say, right now the funding side is taking a little bit longer just because of the nature of real estate. People are a little bit more cautious with it at the moment because of the market.
Okay, and so on the other side of things, so you have a lot of people they have low capital, but they're willing to put in a lot of work. Then you have people on the other side who have a lot of capital, but they're kind of looking for more passive or more turnkey options. Is there room for those people as well, or is this kind of, no, this is going to take a bunch of work, this is going to take a bunch of hustle to be successful with this?
No, we have clients that come in. Yeah, some clients already have land, and like clients that have land generally are going within 30 days. Like you can be generating like good cash off your property within 30 days. That's that you'd be rushed. I would say you could more casually do it in like couple of months kind of thing. But yeah, it's pretty easy to come in and just slap some tents down and start to rent some stuff out if that's what you wanted to do. So there's lots of stuff. We really specialize in just helping people strategize for that. And a lot of people's question is like, okay, how do you get people to actually come to the property? And for one, I really just have to emphasize that like we teach like probably 12 different ways to bring in capital from a property. So I know we're focused on passive income, so that's why I'm kind of like leaning towards some of the glamping and Airbnb stuff because it's easier to automate. Whereas like a regenerative farm is very difficult to automate. Like, I don't know if that's ever going to be automated. So that's why I'm leaning towards some of this other stuff. We got people that do retreat centers, but that's more work too. So the most automated is definitely glamping, camping, or Airbnbs. So that's why I'm focusing on that related stuff. But there's also some huge cash out opportunities. Like you could come in, for example, we bought land for 210,000 and we could have logged it for 280. So there's like, you could just pay your entire property off right there. Or we were shown like carbon credits. You could take carbon credits out for, we were told probably around 150,000 for our property. And if you use regenerative farming in like probably 4 years, we'll probably be able to get about 500,000 for carbon credits. So you could subdivide. We've had people that have raised like $3.2 million for projects in Costa Rica, and they're just contractually putting zones there, and basically, yeah, doing a little communal project, and they just sell casitas and have a construction company come in and build them, and they're crushing it. So there's, and they started from nothing too, and they went from nothing to raising 3.2 million. So that's definitely on the hustle side, but yeah, I would say people who have land, they're doing it in about 30 to 60 days to generate income off their property, which is pretty sweet. And yeah, folks who have the money to go buy it, it's like, it's obviously way faster and way easier, but definitely a lot of things that can go wrong, which is why we like to help folks out.
Yeah, let me take care of this cat. Hold on.
Yeah,
Love you, but goodbye. So we got some questions from the audience. These are great questions. Do you find that there are best areas for performance? I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska. Is that gonna work here, or what are the best places to do this?
yeah, so that's a great question. So basically how we help people find land is we have a system that goes from the kind of the top down. So I'll give some examples of how you can hone that in. So a big part of it might be the climate. So in this case, how does the climate affect how many days a year you can stay open, for example? Is it super cold like it is here in Canada? Is it super hot? Is it super rainy? Like whatever it is. So understanding the climate in different regions is important. And also, if people are interested in more of the lifestyle side and like growing food and stuff, like that might be of interest as well for like what they can grow on the property if people are interested in that. So that might help you hone in into a region of the country or even a country in the world. So that's pretty high level, helping you like hone down just a little bit into a region. And then from there, we often just look at population density. So you want to look at, we want to be within 2 hours of like a major town or city, and within 30 minutes of like a smaller town. And that way you have the local population that is enough to service your economic engine and provide that passive income. So and then kind of a rule of thumb is really, the farther away you are, the more wow factor you need to entice people to show up. So
Hmm.
we are like 5 or 6 hours from from Vancouver, from a major city. So we have like people, and most people that come to our place drive 5 or 6 hours to come just for one night or 2 nights, which is insane to me, but they do it and they keep coming. But the reason they do that is really just because we have a sauna and we have a cold plunge and we have some outdoor showers. That's pretty much it. So yeah, the farther away, you just need a little bit more wow factor. That could be like just a cooler spot. Like if you have, I don't know, maybe you buy land that has a river on it or a creek, or maybe like we have a mountain, so people go look at the stars and have epic views, or maybe you hang a net in a tree, like hammocks and shit. I don't know, like whatever it is that attracts people. We use a cost benefit analysis. So we write out all of our ideas and we rate them, like how attractive is this to people? And then we say, okay, how much does this cost? How much time does it take to set up? And that kind of punches out the best ones to use. But often the hydrotherapy thing, like having a sauna and a little bit of a spa, people are super into that.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, and I do a lot of I look into a lot of mobile home parks, and we kind of have the same rule. We're kind of looking for I want it to be close to a big city to make sure we get enough occupancy. And I've learned follow the Walmarts is what I found, because Walmart does a lot of they do a lot of research about, hey, this is an area where there's going to be demand, and so I found, hey, if there's a Walmart nearby, there's probably people nearby, and so that's been a good policy I found for mobile home parks, at least.
Yeah.
Next question from Ken. Are there considerations for infrastructure, plumbing, electricity, Wi-Fi, etc.? Is that stuff you all go through in your course?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, absolutely. The infrastructure is big. So we have clients that do both on grid and off grid. It totally depends on the scenario. So the course is really meant to help people build a plan for their unique vision and what they're trying to do. But yeah, a lot of people are looking to do like kind of the self-sufficiency stuff and also get set up fast. So for example, like solar power is often gray area where you don't really need permits to set up your panels and like start generating power. And it's often cheaper than pulling a line in from the road if you have electricity. So We kind of go towards the solar route, and also keeping things mobile in the early phases of the project, because you could pick them up and move them around and whatnot. Like, the chances are, design of the site is actually really important. You can save tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars based on the site design alone, because if you have to walk like a mile to go in one direction to go do something and service someone's space or a spa, or if you drill your, or if you, like, let's say you set up your like hydrotherapy spa here for your customers, but then you don't realize that, oh hey, now I'm going to drill a well, and the well driller comes up and they drill it a mile away, and now you're traveling that water back and forth, and you got to pay for the water lines and all the other stuff. So site design is really important and can save a lot of money down the road. But to get started fast, we just like to throw up mobile structures and get them going quick, so you can start generating income fast. And that way it's nice because they're mobile and you can move them around. Another good option with that for toilets that we found is we use like incineration toilets. They're fully mobile. They're powered by propane. You can use them 100 times before you have to do anything with them. Compared to a regular compost toilet, you'd have to empty it every day or two, which is just gross. I don't really want to be touching other people's crap. So the incineration toilet's much more sanitary and stuff. And it's mobile again. And with that, then you get away from needing a septic system. So we never needed to put in a septic system, which is very costly. So instead of spending, $30,000 on a septic system, we can spend $5 and just use these. So yeah, it definitely goes over all of that, but we're pretty bare bones. Like when we started, it was all pretty bare bones. So we never really worried about a lot of those costs, because the goal was to generate income first and then pay for everything else later. So there was no plumbing. One thing we've definitely learned is that, like, when we started, we're like, okay, we're going to build these wall tents and everybody's going to have a kitchenette and they're going to have their own private bathroom and like all these things. People don't care, and it doesn't make you any more money. So we just go by, we just consolidate. So it's like, we thought everyone needed their own sauna and like all the things. We're like, no. There's one common kitchen. Everybody shares it. That can just be, it's just an outdoor kitchen. You can go to Cabela's and just buy some gear and set it up really quick. You can buy like just a decent, we have good hookups with a nice solar supplier. It's really easy to get kind of gypped on solar. Set up a solar with that, throw up a spa, throw up some bell tents. People come and just decorate the bell tents nicely. People definitely, it just saves a lot of money, and time and everything. Just consolidate everything. As long as you can post a photo on Airbnb or HipCamp of the amenities that they get to use, they don't care whether they're private or not private, and you charge the same nightly rates.
Okay, I love that. Yeah, in software we talk about minimum viable product, and that sounds like what you're talking about, where you do kind of the minimum, then you see, well, what do people complain about? Like, oh, people are complaining about this. Okay, well, next thing we'll do, once we have the funds, we'll bootstrap it, and next thing we'll do is, okay, if people want this, we'll go ahead and add that, rather than you get your vision of, I think people want this, this, and this. You spend $1 million, build it, and then find out, oh, people didn't care if they had their own kitchens. So I think that's a really smart way to go about it.
Yeah, I actually came from a software background, so that is exactly, minimum viable product is exactly what we teach in our program.
See, it all comes back to software. Programmers rule the world, right? Next question we got here from Richard. Do you find legal issues very often, where a lot of cities or states or places have property laws? Do you run into that very much?
We don't know. So that really just depends on the zoning that you choose before you get into property. So this is another reason to understand what you want to do with the land before you get into it. A lot of people get excited and they come to us and they're like, all right, where do I start? Like, I need to buy some land. Where do I find land? And I'm like, whoa, just back up a little bit. Like, you need to really plan out what you want. So let's say everybody's different. You want to have some cows on the property. Well, your water needs are very different. You want to have 50 people versus 10. Your water needs are very different. So you might walk in and a property, you might look at their well and be like, okay, yeah, like the neighboring wells around you, and that might just throw that whole area out the window right away. So when people get into property like that and then they realize, oh shit, there's not enough water here, there's not enough, whatever, the zoning's wrong. Like I've had friends, mentors of mine, spiritual mentors of mine that had bought land on Salt Spring Island off the coast of BC here. And they spent millions and built like a beautiful retreat center. And then they weren't allowed to open because the zoning was wrong.
Oh,
And now nobody wants to buy it because they can't open this retreat space. So they can't sell it and they can't use it. So they're just stuck in the middle. So it can really, really suck to not know what you're getting into with that kind of stuff. And so basically you run through a course, and our course helps people identify what zoning they would need. And what they want to do with the property, because they need to know what they want to do with it before knowing what zoning is right for them, and then they can move forward with the zoning. And zoning, how to find that zoning, is every county website, for example, a provincial website or regional district or whatever the governing authority of that area is. If you go to the website, it's usually on the footer, but they are legally obligated in most cases to have a map. So they'll have a mapping system of all of the parcels in that area. And on that mapping system, you can actually just check box the types of zoning that are right for you, and they'll highlight them on the map. So that's where you can look in those areas, and then you can cross-reference that by looking for real estate on a website or with a real estate agent or whatever to find properties in those areas.
okay. Very good. Ken would like to know, are there opportunities to generate additional revenue through solar farm maybe? So like sending power back to the grid. Do you guys have anybody doing that?
No, I would say that's a massive upfront investment to be able to, like, the cost benefit on that doesn't really play out in most scenarios. And also it totally depends. Like, to me, I wouldn't want to rely on that because the government could change their regulations. Just like, for one, they're already different in every state or province and area of the world, even. So some places don't do that. Like some places, if you backfed, they're not actually going to send you a check. They would just like, it just is what it is. You just wouldn't have a bill. It could offset your bill, but they won't send you a check for any extra you give them. So that totally depends on where you're located. And even if you're in a spot that has that, I don't like depending on that because I can't control it. One regulation could change, and then your $1 million investment in solar panels could just go out the window because they're not paying you for it anymore. But that's kind of the backfeeding specifically. I don't know. We don't really deal with like massive projects like that. To me, that seems huge. Like you would have to get an in with some of the energy companies to be able to even begin doing that. And the infrastructure costs would just be huge. I'm also not solar is the best option we have now, but I'm also not a huge, in this case, it would be okay because you wouldn't really need batteries because you'd be feeding it directly to the grid. But anytime you need batteries with that stuff, they only last like 10 years. Like it's better potentially maybe than like oil, but I actually really think that in the long term, we're going to start to see that electric cars aren't as great as we think they are.
I hope not. I drive a Tesla, so I hope you're wrong on that. But yeah, totally gotcha. Okay, we talked a little bit about this before, Quarter Mile, so you can go back after this is over. The recording will be available. I'll put in chapters so you can skip around. But he wants to know, how passive can this be? So do you pay people to manage, or do you see that there's a lot of people who manage, like they're the Glamp sites or whatever might be? Do you see a lot of that?
Yeah. So we have caretakers on the property. Like we've only been at this a couple of years, and I haven't touched any of the Airbnb related stuff in like a year and a half. So we basically set it up the first year and manage it the first year. And after that, we had caretakers come in and do it. So it's been really great. Actually, they manage it for Airbnb and Hip Camp. They also manage it because we host workshops and retreats and stuff up there. So they'll like prep everything. They'll help guests like come in for those events and things too. So yeah, it's been really good. A good question that comes from that is like, how do you find people to come do that? And I actually think the question is more, the real question is more around how do you filter out the right people? Because finding people has actually been the easiest thing. We put up a post on like Facebook Marketplace for a rental to just come and like rent a plot of land and like bring your own trailer or tiny home, and just talked about, the lifestyle that you can live out here kind of thing. And we had like hundreds and hundreds of applicants in like the first, like I think we had like 400 or 500 applicants in like 3 weeks, and they just kept coming. And I had to take the post down because I was just overwhelmed by it. But so we go over a hiring system that we use that's pretty simple. So everybody goes through a Google form for an application. They fill out alignment questions and problem solving questions, and the problem solving questions are really key, and they're specific to each position. To make sure that you don't have to hold somebody's hand. And yeah, we've had really great, like we have Red Seal tradesmen living on site that build stuff. We have permaculture designers that design all the stuff and grow the food and whatnot. Like that's a big thing. Like, you know, even if you wanted your project to be bigger than just passive income, like you don't need to do it all. Once you solve the financial problem, everything else solves itself. But yeah, we definitely, the human factors is a huge portion of it. But it's, for us, we found it very automated for the like glamping and Airbnb side of it, for sure. And it can also be automated in a lot of other expansion ways, you know, such as having builders and other people on the property.
Yeah, and what I've found is pretty much anything can be automated. Anything can become passive. I think what you did is that's exactly how I've started all my businesses. Is you start it and then you put in the initial work, you kind of run it for a little bit and you see, okay, here are the points that of things that need to be done. And then it's like, okay, well, who can do this? Who can do this? Who can do this? Who can do this? And then next thing you know, you don't have anything to do. And then you're looking for your next thing. And that's really
Yeah.
one of the best ways to start passive income streams is doing it that way. So I think
And
maybe
like,
your
and
software
it's just,
background taught you that.
yeah, and it's just systemizing things, right? So like turning things into a system. So every time you do something, keep track of it. Turn it into a checklist. You're cleaning an Airbnb stay, turn it into a checklist kind of thing. If you run through the first few guests kind of thing, you see what people like and what they don't like, and you know, add that to the checklist, and there you go. Now you have a nice, easy system to pass on to the next person. And we offer as much as we can of those systems in our course so that people can just take them and they don't have to. It just cuts the time and effort and energy needed to, you know, get something set up for yourself by just taking our systems.
Okay, very good. Well, let's talk through before we have a few more questions. So, audience, ask your questions. We'll go through this. We'll finish up with some last minute questions after that. But can you kind of just walk us through what all is involved in the course, how much it costs, and then if there's ways to, you know, if you want to go in deeper, like the one-on-one call or things like that, can you kind of walk us through what the course entails?
Yeah, for sure. So the course in itself and what it entails, we walk people right through from like getting into land, finding funding for that, how to find the land, how to make sure it's the right fit and assess it to make sure, because that's a huge part, is actually being able to assess it. Having a solid plan and really clarifying the vision. So that's how to communicate your plan to other people. That could be people who might come and invest to get it going. That could be, you know, even just communicating to like your story, writing your story and whatnot on Airbnb or whatever. Like we use it everywhere. And that's why people are stoked to come here, is by learning our story and the why behind we wanted to do this. Yeah, just making sure that the land actually fits. That's a big one. You don't want to make a massive investment and realize that it's not going to be the right one for you. Yeah, then the next step is really getting into the passive income and creating cash flow on the land. So we go over about 10 to 12 different ways of doing this. So there's lots of ways to create cash flow on the property. Then there's also a lot of ways to actually use the land to cover its own purchasing costs. Some people have done this so well that they actually had a massive influx of cash at one thing, such as like a subdivision project or something like that, whereas they could just retire off the amount of money. So they don't even need any passive income anymore. They could go invest in other things. So lots of cool stuff with that. Infrastructure, so just planning what you want for power, for water, for human waste, for your initial structures, whatever is efficient to get off the ground quickly. We do a lot of stuff with permits and whatnot to make sure that you can phase your project out. So the first phase, there's ways to, you know, use mobile dwellings and tent-like structures and things like that, and structures under 100 square feet to be able to get going fast without the need for permits. And then from there, once you were generating money, if you wanted to build larger buildings, then you can go through the permitting stuff, saves time and money in the first phase, gets you going fast. Yeah. So a lot of people have a lot of things about the different structures and stuff where desire gets in the way of logic, whereas they're just like, I want a yurt. And I'm like, well, a yurt costs $30,000 when you could actually just go buy a bell tent for $3,000 and charge the same nightly rate for both of them. So you'd actually could spend 30,000 on bell tents and make 10 times more money. So there's, yeah, lots of stuff like that. Land design and layout is all based around permaculture methods. So that is how to keep things efficient so that you're saving time and money on walking back and forth, on all of your infrastructure for water lines and so on and so forth. That is, it's a big thing. We go right into like water security, for example. Like if someone logs around your area, your aquifer could drop out from under you and then you'd be out of water. Like there's, defending your property from wildfire. You don't want to set it all up and then it burn down if you're in an area where that's an issue. So there's making sure that you're planning your like access roads and trail systems and stuff in a proper way. People could plan an access road and that could actually drought their property. That's actually the biggest cause of drought is people putting roads in the wrong spot. So there's lots of stuff to learn there. The permaculture side is very, very interesting. And then the human factors is really just, getting those caretakers in, those systems, how to onboard them, how to automate the workflow. We have people that want to actually like have more than one caretaker, people that want to even have their friends and family come up there sometime and have a little tiny home community and stuff. And 95% of those arrangements fail. So we help make them work because the human factors can be very the hardest to automate, let's say. And we cover all the legal agreements and everything that you would want to use in those scenarios with caretakers to make sure that you're well protected. Food growth and raising animals and whatnot. I'm not sure how many people here would be interested in that. That's a lot of work. But if you are interested, it does go over that as well. And tools, equipment, machinery, same thing. All the things. Lots of cool financing options, lots of equity options available with that too, on how you can use equipment and whatnot that you might need to build equity. The pros and cons of actually buying it versus renting it, especially in rural areas. There's lots to consider with all of that. And and then we have community connections resources. So we have a resource sheet where we put in like all of our connections that we've used to do this. We also have a community of over, I honestly don't know. I think the last I gauged it was like 3,200 or something clients in over 21 countries. So we have all those people will come in and they put resources in that sheet too. So everybody that could be anything from a supplier to a contractor to, who knows, a designer, like whatever it might be. So then we have, basically the course, the initial course cost is $397 US, and we offer payment plans as low as $77 on a 6-month payment plan, or I think $167 or something on a 3-month payment plan. So we're really trying to help people get into it from like an easy spot. Really financially, we're pretty easy going with that. And then it comes with our business plan package for free. So you get our business plan, our pitch deck, and our financial projections all pre-filled out with real numbers, exactly the way that we used to do this. So that's kind of one of the most sought after things. And then from there, we do have a VIP group and whatnot. So VIP group is where you get to talk with me twice a month, and it's unlimited time. Like I'll stay on that call with you for as long as you need. So that's two video calls per month. And the video calls are sweet. People come in and you actually get to learn from other people's situations as well and kind of unique experiences. So it adds more value than just doing one-on-ones with me, because you get to learn from other people's stuff too. So that's an option from there. Business plan package we talked about is free with the course right now. And so the Investors Network, we help pair people up with potential investors. So if you're looking to get into some land, or you're looking to get some investment to build initial infrastructure or whatever it might be, we have a network of people that we can you do your plans, we review your plans, and we send it out to this network, and then you can start to chat with those folks and take it from there. We don't take any commissions or anything like that. It's just trying to connect people with like-minded folks that want to go out and do this. Lots of people have the money, they don't have the time, they still want to do it. So there we go. Yep. And then we do workshops. So you can come visit our land in person. We do a 3 or 4 day workshop. We got 5-star food from great chefs. We got accommodations included. The hydrotherapy spa is there. You can come and learn how to operate our machinery if you want. You can learn more about. You can just see everything that we've talked about today and just actually see it in person. And the in-person workshops come with the course. So we ask folks to go through the program first, and then when you show up, it can be treated more like a private consulting, so we can dive deeper into your specific project over that weekend.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, no, sounds very extensive. Can I ask, so of the people that go through your course, how many people would you say? I mean, you probably don't have exact percentage numbers or anything like that, but do you find that most people who go through the course are able to succeed, or are a lot of people they're scared off by how much work it is, or what do you kind of see from people that go through the course?
Honestly, it's so different. So for one, I mean, so out of like 3,200 clients or so, we have about 350 in the VIP group. So and then out of those 350, we have about 30 or so people that show up to the calls. And that's like a revolving door. So like, people show up for the first like 6 months, and then they'll kind of like maybe trickle off. So I'm only really ever in contact with like that amount of people all the time. So what we started to do with that, because I've been asking myself the same question, is we started to do client spotlights. So we're starting to actually reach out to our clients and see where they're at, and then start to get on calls like this with them and just see what their journey's been like so far. Yeah, it really depends, because, like I said, we have people that want to do full off-grid intentional living community, like 50 family home communities. That's like a 5-year project. Whereas then we have other people that want to start like a regenerative farm, other people who just want to do the glamping thing. So yeah, some of them are just really other people who buy the program and they're just like, I'm just going to buy this. I'm going to use it to get prepared and make my plan. And then I'm going to wait for my kids to move out of the house, and then I'm going to go do it, kind of thing. So yeah, it's lots of that. But I would say out of everyone, the folks that are looking to get the glamping setups going and whatnot, and like Airbnb stuff, are the fastest, because those are just the fastest projects, and usually the types of folks that want to get it up and going faster, in my opinion. So yeah, it's I don't really have a number at all, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's exactly what I was wanting to know. And I imagine, like you said, what I see from these courses is, yeah, usually the reason people don't succeed is because, yeah, they're kind of just casually thinking about it. They go through the course and they're like, oh, that was nice. That was very interesting. But if you're dedicated to doing something like this, tools like this will be super helpful in getting that going.
Some feedback
Um,
that we have gotten, which I think is cool, is that we have a lot of people saying that, the course has changed their lives. And I think that the reason for that is because whether you do it or not, there's so many tools inside of it and mindset shifts that can help you in so many other ways. Like, you could take all of our funding teachings and go take them and apply them to any other business that you could ever want to do. Like, I've used the same methods to get funded in 90 days, 6 times in a row, for personal projects, for multiple businesses, and for real estate. So it applies to like so many other areas of life and business and such. So I think that people always get a lot of takeaway from it, no matter how long it takes them to actually execute.
Yeah, even what we've talked about here today is kind of like entrepreneur school, like minimum viable products, and then just thinking of ways to monetize things that you already, that you have access to. So yeah, I think a lot of benefit there for sure. Couple last questions we have from the audience, then we'll let you go and get back to living off the grid. First off, the workshops you mentioned, where are these workshops located? Where do you normally do those?
Our workshops are in Rock Creek, British Columbia, Canada, which is, yeah, like southern BC. It's quite close to the border, to the Washington border. But yeah, we have folks come in from all over the place. A lot of folks, over 50%, the majority of people fly in or drive in. We have people that drive up from Texas and Florida and stuff. Like, they drive across the continent to show up for these workshops, which is pretty cool to see. So yeah, we got people flying in from all over the world for them, which is pretty sweet. We do in the future hope to start actually hosting workshops at some of our client sites around the US as well, for those people who don't really want to travel at the moment. But yeah.
Okay. And then Ken says, not sure if I missed it, have you set up in any foreign countries like South America or the Caribbean?
We haven't personally, but lots of our clients have. So yeah, like 21 plus countries. So we have clients in South America and the Caribbean for sure. We have clients in Portugal, Spain, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Australia, all over Europe. Yeah, just like pretty much everywhere.
Okay, very cool. And Chance says, "Yeah, I use any excuse to go up to British Columbia." Haha. So he'd be happy to go to the workshops. So well,
Yeah, well,
awesome.
we hope to see you there.
Yeah, awesome. This is super educational for me. Again, just something I don't know very much about, but I know I've had a lot of people. I had someone from my audience send this to me and say, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I was like, "I don't know. Let me bring on somebody who might know better." So, very educational. It was nice meeting you. I think we have a similar entrepreneurial spirit, and you've put yours into land. I put mine into YouTube. So that's great. It's been nice to meet you. And thank you, audience. Appreciate you guys as always. Please hit like on the way out. And yet, Jaymie, really appreciate your time. Thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. I just want to say that we do have a bunch more like talking head Hermosi style content coming out with like quick value snippets. So if people are looking for more free value and stuff, you can follow our channels and whatnot. And we're happy to give it and happy to help.
Okay, cool. You have a YouTube channel? I guess I should get links to these. Maybe when
Yeah,
we hang up here.
yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll send you some links.
Yeah, send me some links. But yeah, the course, I have the link to that. And then I'll get other links in the description for YouTube. And just if you want content about this type of life and just this entrepreneurial life and, using your land. And I think it's super interesting. So really appreciate it, Jaymie.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, everybody. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.